Hello my fellow total opposites of simps on a Valentine's Day winning streak. Want to hear another one of those nightmare-fueled campfire creepypastas to wrap up your lovely day? Well, look no further than the infamous Backrooms. I mean, just stare at the side of this old rotten hallway. Last time I checked, we were 55 updates past Civilization patch 1.9.65. So you walk through a wall into these stupid rooms? Sounds like a Harry Potter train station knockoff. Who even frickin' thought of this dumb setting in the first place? Some loser in the middle of a writer's block just throwing some ideas on the wall? Some loser attempting to process what the hell that dream was they had the other day? Some loser trying to creatively portray their biggest fear in life only to not quite figure out precisely what that fear happens to be? How about we look at this from a different lens? Apologies for this sudden change in pace here, but allow me to continue my video. It's natural here on the internet to cope with such frightening ideas by making jokes out of them. You know, making fun of these fictional, not frickin' real people, places, things. I'm better than them. I'm superior to these cute little devils. I'm not going to be frickin' scared. It's all just a fairy tale. But it's pretty important to note, most of the time these horrifying ideas can in fact actually be real. Obviously not physically. You're not going to see an old humanoid looking pile of mucus dragging young adults into a real life bad LSD trip anytime soon. What I mean by these concepts being real is that they are real in a symbolic sense. They could represent internal conflicts. They could represent the relationship between you and your family. They could represent just about anything in your life, and it all depends on how relatable, how terrifying of a job these horror narratives do to stand out. And the Backrooms encapsulate that pretty well. You probably know how the saying goes. On May 12th, 2019, an image was posted on 4chan's paranormal board and got this particular reply. If you're not careful and you no-clip out of reality in the wrong areas, you'll end up in the Backrooms, where it's nothing but the stink of old moist carpet, the madness of mono yellow, the endless background noise of fluorescent lights at maximum hum buzz, and approximately 600 million square miles of randomly segmented empty rooms to be trapped in. God save you if you hear something wandering around nearby, because it sure as hell heard you. Now, pretty quickly, this post sparked a large community of internet users with the common interest of adding fuel to the fire. Accountings of personal experiences with this labyrinth exponentially rose in popularity. Pretty soon, these backrooms would consist of multiple different levels, each containing their own unique interior designs, entities, artifacts, and psychological effects on the victim. It would be foolish of me to leave out the many outrageous claims people have made exploring these levels, so I'll do them a favor and give you the details. Also, just a reminder, don't forget what I told you about the concept of the Backrooms being real. Now, level 0 is the usual level you no-clip into when entering the Backrooms, and it is exactly as described as the original 4chan post. Yellow wallpaper, an old carpet, annoying lights. Despite this only being the first floor of random rooms, it will most likely be the most terrifying. Assuming you've fallen into this interior desert, perhaps you've tripped into the floor, leaned back against a wall only to fall right through it, or woke up only to find yourself not in your bed, but in a carpet that resembles quicksand. Chances are you're terrified, you don't know how you got here, you don't know why this place seems so familiar to you, like a dream you had, or maybe this is a dream, but that's too unrealistic. Dreams are supposed to cause a lack of self-awareness, and that clearly isn't the case here. You eventually find yourself speed-walking through numerous halls trying to find someone with the answers to your hundreds of questions, only to feel like you're walking through the same room over and over and over and over again with nobody else to exist before your very eyes. This is the actual definition of insanity, and when you try to helplessly get that thought of insanity out of your head, you'll feel it getting worse and worse. As time passes, you'll feel like your brain is in flames as you repeat the phrase, another room, nobody home, another room, nobody home, another room, nobody home, another room, nobody home. It's been like, what, 15 minutes and I still haven't found a single freaking person? You know, I'm just retarded, that's all it is. I'm just freaking retarded. There's nothing else to it. Really, nobody is going to answer me, I guess, when I just let out the old-fashioned By this point in time, you might have made the uneducated decision of screaming for help, potentially giving away your location to whatever unimaginable life forms that are nearby. So, you'll be lucky if you don't hear anything that doesn't directly resemble a human being. Assuming you're in a timeline that provides you with at least a tiny bit of slack, which is quite a bit unlikely, there are some people in here that are on the same boat as you. I mean, there is an entire subreddit and Wikia forum dedicated to this particular phenomena, so there is evidence that indicates you aren't the only person stuck in the maze. Perhaps you'll stumble upon an explorer who can teach you a little more about these dangerous backrooms, like how to navigate the area, how to deal with the hostile entities that could appear at random, and in fact, how to find the exit. You may experience a sudden rush of dopamine as you hear that news, but he'll eventually crush your soul by reminding you that if you exit this labyrinth through the methods he explains, there's a 100% chance you're going to fall right back into the backrooms eventually. And that's assuming those rooms don't on the off chance lead into even more dangerous areas. Also, I might add, assuming that you actually find one of these well-informed people, which have a pretty good chance of being entirely made up. But let's just say you don't visit the exit points or have gone through the exit points and fell back into the backrooms enough times to the point where you just want to leave forever. Well, it is said that nobody has ever officially exited the backrooms, but trust me on this one, I think I figured it out. There is a very important message being sent to you by this recurring nightmare, and you need to respond to that message as wisely as you can. If you have the will and the care, enter level 1. If you still are largely doubting yourself, just go to one of the exit points, do whatever you have to do before you no-clip through a wall again or something, and try to notice a difference in your mentality once re-entering. So you find yourself in level 1, which is similar to 0 in terms of geography with the exception of more mold and more cracks on the walls. When you enter this level through an elevator, staircase, etc., you won't really see that much of a difference at first. But unfortunately, after at least 4 days of exposure, things will start to become chaotic. The buzzing lights will start to flicker before turning themselves off for minutes to hours at a time, and in that period, the monsters will draw near. You can tell how close these monsters are by how much you could hear their distorted screaming. As you probably figured out, that doesn't sound like something you should be around. So don't panic, identify where the sound is coming from, go in the opposite direction, and don't look back. You're obviously gonna need a light source to help you out with that. This kind of stuff is pretty common, meaning level 1 is a lot more difficult than 0. Instead of just allowing fear, it tests it. This will be made all the more terrifying by the fact that there are noises that don't even come from monsters and serve as ambience. The sound of creaking doors and rumbling machinery. As much as you will hate to hear those sounds, just ignore them. Hear the sound of distorted cries? Go a different direction. If you aren't able to consistently follow this particular protocol and succumb to panic, frustration, lack of focus, whatever it is, you're done. Game over. This is all what you'll have to do every time it goes dark in level 1. And knowing that you're going to be in this room for days to weeks at a time while also having to find the right place to sleep, it will definitely be difficult to navigate. But it is indeed possible. There are exit points in level 1 to escape to, but just note that once you exit and re-enter the backrooms, you'll likely be back at 0. But if you've proven yourself to be a person of great care and will, there's a good chance you'll find the entrance to level 2, the final confirmed level of the backrooms. There are several claims of levels past this one, but they are yet to be actually confirmed. Now, before you enter the horrors that are the backrooms of level 2, There is a very important point that needs to be made here. Walking through endless rooms to find a way out, avoiding confrontation with monsters, this is a classic example of a recurring dream, so there has to be a theme behind its presence. Every person that enters this place or dreams about this place has to have some personal conflict in common, randomly no-clipping into a desolate and agonizing cluster of hallways, carefully navigating the hallways into an area of danger and terror, leaving through provided exits to take a break only to be abruptly brought back in at any time. There's a pattern going on that kind of reminds you of some issue you're dealing with in real life. What is it? Work? Drugs? Life in general? Suddenly it clicks. You try to deny it, try to brush it off and say that this is all a coincidence and you're simply an unfortunate victim of a horrible, sadistic living nightmare. That's funny. You didn't bring this upon yourself, did you? You didn't have some personal problem in life you're more worried about than this, did you? You didn't think your situation kind of symbolizes that personal problem you're dealing with, did you? Well, I think there's something you need to see. Yeah, the Backrooms is simply a reminder that there's a pathway for you to do what's best for yourself, and you're either oblivious of it or are not willing to take it. Think I'm crazy? Level 0 is basically a portrayal of being existentially lost, indecisive of what you think is the most beneficiary way to shape your future. The feeling of isolation in this level reflects your inability to fit in with people who actually know what they're doing. The old stinky carpet represents what you think about yourself in the situation, an annoying inconvenience that people have to deal with to get by. The lights with maximum hum buzz are simply symbols of massive frustration with yourself. The weak yellow walls that form this maze represent your train of thought over these years, constantly forming a blockade against any big decision you consider taking before telling yourself to go a different direction. And choosing to continue walking from room to room is to continue thinking about what you want to do in life. The exit points are just there to represent breaks or periods of time in which you'll be allowed to enjoy the fun things you have already before you jump back into this existential crisis. Level 1 is a step above Level 0 when you've discovered a suitable thing you want to do for yourself and are experimenting with it in case it goes anywhere. Having to deal with lights going off for random periods of time is like having to randomly deal with doubt in your ability to actually go the pathway you want to go. The monsters that you have to avoid during that time represent the people that say you can't do this, but they don't know you, they just want to bring you down to their level of pain. Death in the Backrooms is basically God getting disappointed with your life choices and as a result abandoning you. Hence why you have to go through this level with care and will. Those sentiments can be unstoppable forces. The general sense of fear you get out of this part of the Backrooms is also a representation of doubt. Virtually this entire level is a battle with doubt, with the exception of when you actually have a justifiable reason for your doubt. That's what the level 1 exit points are for. Once again noting, exit through those and you'll most likely re-enter at level 0. But now we're at the entrance to the next level. As you can tell, not a lot of people get to this particular point since they proclaim to be happy with what they got. There aren't any exit points in there, and it is said that once you enter it, it is nearly impossible to leave, unless you consciously picture the Backrooms as if it was your home. In other words, accepting your role as a wasted human being despite trying so hard not to be one. Hate to be vulgar for a second, but that is pussy shit. I've got news for you. We are going to change that. We are going to prove that there is a way out of the backrooms forever, instead of having to constantly fall through the ground time and time again. Level 1 is the level of experimenting with what you want to do in life. Level 2 is committing to it. You'll need a sledgehammer. If you thought the difficulty of transitioning from an existential crisis to attempting to figure things out was difficult, this is much worse. Louder machinery will fill your ears, large pipes will line up against the walls, and the yellow rooms will be replaced with narrow concrete hallways that go on for miles. Without the doors, it will start to look like the interior of a Navy ship. So you're in a frickin' battle. There will be hallways in which the temperatures rise to that of Death Valley. So if there's no signs of the heat slowing down, turn around and travel a different route. This pathway clearly isn't for you. If you see a monster in one of these halls, it will chase you down on sight, so run the opposite direction and travel a different route. This pathway clearly isn't for you. If you feel helpless about that, just note that someone went out of their way to take a picture of these monsters, leave the backrooms, and live to post it online. That should be enough proof that you can outrun them. Make sure you lose them before you go through another long hallway, because if you don't, you can run into another entity and trap yourself. The goal here is to be smart when every choice you make in level 2 is a risk, and the main antagonist of that is overconfidence. You wouldn't want to do anything too irresponsible, like travel through a hallway with an excruciating amount of blind turns. However, soon enough, you'll find a hallway that takes you to a dead end. Perhaps you're frustrated after traveling miles through that path only to be greeted with another wall, but I'm pretty sure you should feel the opposite. Remember what I told you about level 2 being the level of commitment? Remember what I told you about the walls representing big decisions you've doubted being able to personally achieve? Remember what I told you about bringing a sledgehammer? 'Cause it's time to break the frickin' walls down. Yo, don't just sit there and stare at that stupid wall, hit it with a frickin' sledgehammer. Just because it looks like solid concrete doesn't mean it's absolutely invincible. Yo, what's with that absolutely pathetic swing? Is that all you frickin' got? Hit it like you mean it, jackass. Do it for your dad. No turning back now. There's bound to be something that's chasing down whatever's creating that ruckus. Like, actually, there's the shadowy version of the Harbinger experiment coming from behind. Oh, look, a crack of light through the wall. What did I frickin' tell you? Oh my god, hit faster, hit harder. The monster's bolting straight towards you. Holy shit, this is suspenseful. I bet your heart is beating like a hummingbird. Why is there SpongeBob music playing louder and louder? Is that coming from that putrid humanoid? Come on, man. Have you made a hole big enough for you to jump through? There's barely any freaking time left. I can hear it breathing into my putrid soul. Dude, you have to dive. Not dive. Dive through. Come on, get out! Alright, so now that you're out of the backrooms and have every incentive in the world to follow your dreams, allow me to give a quick review of this backrooms thing. It definitely does its job at being relatable and terrifying. I mean, there's no way you haven't been lost or at least seen the interior of a building similar to this. The one major problem I have with it, however, this may or may not be canon, is you could leave the backrooms the same way you came in. Not only does that tamper with my theory and make me absolutely upset, but it pretty much ruins everything that makes the backrooms what it is. 600 million square miles of randomly segmented empty rooms to be trapped in. You wouldn't be trapped in that if you could just casually leave the same way you came in. It also opens the door to a bunch of questions that go unanswered by the canon but could be easily answered through simple experimentation. Here's a few off the top of my head. I guess in some way it's a lot simpler in a sense. I mean, part of the reasons why the backrooms is terrifying is because of its surrealism, but perhaps you could treat it like a theoretically unsolvable mystery. Unless you're gonna be like me and say, oh, that's just a bunch of malarkey. The backrooms is actually when you get lost in life, walk through a wall, try to go back through that wall, only to find out that wall is acting like a normal wall again, forcing you to have to find a different way out of this unexplored nightmare. That's my kind of terrifying. Anyways, hopefully you enjoyed this video, and hey, that's just a theory. Get